Bum, bum, bum. Hey, Elfie. How's it going? You're so talented. You're so talented. I love it. I love it. You do mess up my stuff a bit, but, like, I love it. No, just walk all over the cards. No, that's what I want. I want you to walk all over the cards. Because then I could just reset it. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I'm good now? Okie dokes. I'm gonna leave that in. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Pondscape from Capstone Games. Normally I have this way I do it, but the problem is I kind of want to leave that in because I thought it was a little cute, so I'm just gonna jump into it. Let's try again. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Pondscape from Capstone Games, which is a 1-4 player tableau building game designed by Thomas Holick, by the way, the designer of SETI, as well as a bunch of other games, which I didn't realize when I was first getting this game. I did not realize that, and then I saw the name. Anyways, I'm reviewing Pondscape today. Pondscape is a 1-4 player point scoring game which you're going to be placing cards into your own personal pond in order to optimize the scoring around those cards. The way you're going to be doing that is you're building a 3x5 grid. It's going to be 3 rows and 5 columns, and you're trying to place cards into that grid in order to combine their scoring as efficiently as possible. Now I'm just going to walk you through the sequence of how you gather cards and play them. I'm just going to be doing this my own little puzzle. There is a solo mode. I haven't played it. I'm just going to take cards as if this were a multiplayer game, and then show you how that works, and then talk about my thoughts and opinions. Links and timestamps to everything down below. Also, this channel is sponsored by Allplay. We'll talk about them at the end of the video as well. With that, on a turn, you're basically going to gather a card. You're going to start with a hand of 3 cards. You're going to take a card from this grid. Let's say I'll go ahead and gather this one. I'm gonna do my best to not overthink every move because this isn't a real game. But I'm gonna take this card, and that means that I'm going to move the frog 2 because that number 2 is over there. So I'm gonna go 1 and 2, and there you go. The card is now pointing towards these. Then I'll take any of the cards in my hand and I'll place it down. I'll take this one. I really like playing cards on their other side, and this card rewards you for doing that. And I'm going to place it anywhere in the grid. I can place it here, I can place it here, I can place it here, anywhere in my 3x5 grid. We're going to place it right smack dab over there, just to show you that you can. You can leave it floating where you want. That's my turn. A new card comes out. If there were any abilities on the card, I would do those. There's no abilities on the card, so I will not. But also I want to show you how things work, so let's do that now. On my next turn, I'll gather this card over here. I'm going to take this card, put it into my hand. We're going to move the frog 1 because you've been following along. You know how this works. We'll replace that card over there, and this time around I'm going to play this card. Now there's different types of cards. This is going to be the frogs, this is going to be the habitats. This is one of 5 possible habitats. We're going to place this down, we're going to place it face up. There is an ability on the bottom corner. That ability allows me to move this frog 1 or 2, and this time I get to place cards down as food. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to go around, you circle around, you're kind of going around over here as you go, and I'm going to place this, because we have that here, I could go, honestly this wasn't necessarily the best situation, but it's fine. Again, I'm not overthinking this, we're not playing optimally. I'm going to go ahead and move it 1 and 2, okay? And then I can place cards down to these matching insects on my player board. I can place either one here, or both, or neither. Those are my options. 4 different options you can do. In this case, because I have this dragonfly over here, I'm going to pretend that I have some sort of plan. I don't. I'm going to tuck this card underneath this card, and that's going to represent 1 food card for those types of insects, which will make more sense later as we play. That's a turn over there. So now you've seen me play a card, you've seen me play a regular card, you've seen me play a terrain over there, this isn't for is it ecosystem, climate, whatever they're called. Anyways, and you've seen me tuck cards with the basic action. Let's take our next turn. Also keep in mind, I got rid of a card from my hand, which means I have to try to refill my hand because otherwise I'm going to have fewer options. So taking a look over there, it looks like both of these cards have the ability to, in fact, this card does too, but I just talked about that dragonfly. I want to play that one. So let's take one of these. We're going to take this one over here, and we're going to take it, and we're going to add it to our hand, and we're going to move the frog 0, because this has a 0. We'll refill that, and then once again we'll play a card. This time we're going to place this card face down. Ooh, maybe I should have done something differently. It's too late now. It's fine. We're gonna place this up. We're not optimizing. We're gonna play this card down because you can do that. You can play a card face up or face down. And in this case, we're going to take 2 over here. We're going to draw 2 cards from the top of the deck because that allows us to do so, and it gives us a little butterfly symbol in the corner over here. You'll notice that at the front of the cards, it shows you what's on the back in that top corner, so you don't have to constantly be looking back and forth on what's on the front and back of cards. Now this is important because this frog over here will score if there are at least 4 pawns, or whatever you call them, the reverse side, in my grid, that's how this scores. So I knew when I took this that I'm working my way towards building a bunch of face-down cards into my grid. That's going to be a turn. Now we can go ahead and take another turn. That's kind of the arc of what's happening. But let's go ahead and just play a bunch of cards out so you have a better sense of how things go, just so you can see how things would score in the game. We're going to tuck a card underneath here. Again, we'll put another one over there. We'll put another card down over here under this. We'll pretend that we've done all these things. You've seen the arc of how we do this. Now I'm just kind of prepping out, and then we'll grab a bunch of cards at the top of the deck, and we'll just play a few cards down so you can get a sense of how things play as we go through the game. We're going to put that face down over here, that face down. We're going to place another one of these face up over here, and that should be good enough to try to show you how things work. And let's place one of these face down. Now this is not a full grid, but the game would end once you had a completely full grid, and you're going to score for a few different things. First things first, you're going to score for your frogs. Each frog has a condition of how they score. This frog scores if I have at least 4 cards face down, which I do. But the way cards score is it's kind of binary. They either score or they don't score. How much they score depends on how many of those frogs you have. This is where you're going to look at this grid over here. This says if I have a grouping of 3 frogs, then I get 21 points. So this grouping of 3 frogs is going to score 21 points because I do successfully fulfill the condition. If I had them separate, meaning if I had them like this, then instead of scoring 21 points, I would score 5 for this one and 12 for these two, only scoring 17 instead of the 21. So building groupings of frogs, it's a big deal. You want to do that because you get more points when you're successfully able to do that. Some cards like this over here, this is a straight up 5 points. Over here I have 2 terrain types. You can see over here that's going to be 10 points. If I had all 5, that's 50 points if I have all 5 terrain types in the game. And then lastly, well, there's also these cards. This one will give you a one-time use ability. These little gold frogs over here, so they score, sometimes they give you scoring conditions that you can accomplish on their own, but this one was an in-game ability instead. And then lastly, you look to see the food you fed to those insects, and then you count up those symbols. So for example, I have 2 under the dragonfly. I have only 1 dragonfly symbol, so I get 2 times 1, or 1 point. Over here, I have 1 over here, which is 1 times 1, which is again 1 point. But over here, I had 2 butterflies. If I had any cards under my butterflies, let's pretend I had 2 cards underneath my butterflies over here, then that would be 2 times 2, or 4 points. Now again, you're watching a incomplete grid. You can score chunks of points. Like I've seen people, like, was it me? I've seen people get like over 20, 30 points. I think the highest I've seen from insects was like 40 plus points from insects alone, which is a huge amount. But in this game, there's lots of trade-offs as far as how you build your grid. That's basically the game. You're trying to draft cards, place them into your grid, be mindful of what different cards are going to go there, whether cards go face up or face down. Are you working your way towards those scoring conditions? Rinse and repeat until you get to the end, score things up, and then try again to see if you can do better. Or try the solo mode, which I haven't yet, but I might. These kinds of games, the problem is the scoring in this game is kind of like a beat your own score solo mode, and that's not usually my jam. I like scenario-driven solo modes. Either way, let's go ahead and dive into my review of what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like. This is a kind of game system that I generally enjoy. This kind of point scoring optimization when you have to try to juggle multiple criteria, I like those games. To a problem, actually, because I find with a lot of these games, because I enjoy them so much, I end up almost always, whenever I find a game like this, and this, I don't yet know if this applies to Pondscape or not, but whenever I find a game like this, I almost always want to keep it and then hold on to it, and then sometimes they really last and they're here years later. Other times I realize I have too many of this type of game and I eventually get rid of them, but I always enjoy them, and that's definitely true here. So the very type of thing this game is trying to do, I am the target audience for. I like this kind of game. The combination, the ability to try to bury dead cards in this game is a big thing as well, because sometimes you don't really have a ton of options over here. So you're trying to figure out which cards to draft and take. Sometimes they work for your engine, sometimes they don't, but you can bury cards over here underneath your scoring cards anyway, so that gives you a lot of flexibility, but you're also trying to juggle that with the different ways you're trying to make everything work. You're trying to get all the terrain types, but guess what? That's 5 cards. 5 cards of different terrain types. If you do that, that's 5 out of 15 cards. So what are your other 10 cards going to be if you even get all 5, which I don't. I've seen it happen. I don't think I've gotten all 5. I think I've gotten 4. 3 is easy. 4 is already a little harder, and 5 I haven't done myself. That's 50 cards. Are you willing to give up a third of your pond for that, for 50 points? I mean, I said 50 cards, 50 points. But then also you have other things like this. If you play a grouping of these frogs, well, they want these cards face down. So if you're trying to go for terrain types, that's 5 cards there. You have a minimum of 4 cards you're going to be playing for their reverse side, and then hopefully you're getting a nice group of these. What's that going to be? 4 or 5 cards? What do you have left at that point? You're trying to juggle all this. You only have 15 cards, so trying to optimize around that is a lot. And juggling the front and the back of the card trying to think through, like, okay, great, well, how do I maximize my insect scoring while doing all this? Because again, you could kind of neglect insect scoring if you want. It means that you do have less options for how to bury cards that aren't really helping you, because just having a dead card in your hand feels inefficient. Utilizing it for insect scoring is a different story, but you could give up insect scoring. You can't do it all in this game, so maybe you just want to focus on other things that'll give you points. There's a lot of juggling, and you want to do everything. I want to do everything, and I never can. I always feel a bit too constrained while I try to optimize my grid and score a little better than I did the last game. I think my second game was my highest score, and I haven't beaten that yet, and that bothers me because I want to beat that score, but I want to do everything. I can't, and overall it's a fun, challenging puzzle to do so. It also has easy to interpret iconography, a good rulebook that kind of covers you when the iconography isn't. It's got good art, quick to play, quick to teach. It's a very simple, accessible game to get into. As far as what I don't like in the game, I kind of touched upon this a little bit in the things I do like, but I do feel 15 cards feels a drop too little. Going back to that scoring example I gave, if I'm trying to do the terrains, that's 5 cards. These 4 cards over here, that's going to be 4. I want to get a nice grouping of that. That's 3 things I'm doing. Everything else I can't do. So you kind of have to pick and choose, which I do like. I like it that you can't do everything because that brings a lot of tension to the game. I kind of almost wish it was like a 6 by 5 grid, or no, 6 by 3 grid. That's 18 cards. Like I feel like 18, like 20 almost feels like maybe too much, but 18 feels like it could have been a good number. I want to do a bit more in this game, and I don't like the fact that it feels a drop too constrained. Sure, I shouldn't be able to do everything. That would make me less interested in diving back in, but it means that the fewer things you have, the fewer opportunities for how you can min-max everything, if that makes sense. Like obviously, to give an example, if you could only ever have 3 cards in your grid, that would be a finite amount of ways to actually build things. And that's true when you add a 4th card, a 5th card, a 6th card. Every card you add increases how many ways you can put things together. I feel like 15 just feels a bit too tight, that it gives me less room to play with how I can combine things optimally. I wish there were a bit more cards. Also, some things I've learned you just can't compromise on. A good example is insect scoring. While I say you can give up insect scoring, I think you have to have some insect scoring in the back of your mind. It's just there's too many insect symbols are going to be going on the table for you to pass up on them. I have also found that it's very, very helpful if you focus on insects that are together. For example, if I want to focus on these 2 insects, or these 2, or these 2, focusing on this one and this one means that as you move this around, you can't contribute at the same time, so you kind of really want to focus on things like that. So I do find there's some strategies that over the course of multiple plays, I am not an expert at this game, but I've found that certain ways to play you have to do as opposed to trying to find the ways to make it all work. Minor complaint over there. As far as I can see others not liking, there's definitely a degree of luck of the draw. You know, I mentioned those 5 terrains. If we're both going for the terrains and the terrain comes out in your turn and you get that, congratulations. You just got an extra 14 points because you got lucky on that flip. So that absolutely can happen in the game. I find it kind of evens out throughout the course of the game, but it is a factor. Also, denial is a factor in this game as well. Trying to take cards. Because I can bury a card for insect scoring that doesn't even help me, denial for sure plays a part, especially at 2 players. I think this game actually works really well at 2. I've played it at a few player counts, but I find it works really well at 2 because it's so fast, so easy to get into, but the denial at any player count is present, and at 2 it is much higher, because if I can bury a terrain you need access to, or any card for that matter, I'm just using terrains as an example, if I can bury that card in a way that doesn't even hurt me, you have that, like, you know, what is that, hate drafting, so to speak, just not drafting, you have hate pulling, whatever it is. Denial is present in this game. I don't mind it, but if you mind that, this can be... Play the game at 3 or 4 players. Denial is less present at those levels. Still present, but definitely less present. As far as final thoughts on Pondscape, I like it. I don't think the game does anything like amazing that blows my mind. Like when I think of all the scoring optimization games out there, like this is one. I have not decided what I'm doing with it. I have not decided if I'm keeping it or not. That's like a challenge I find because I want to keep it. I want to hold on to it. But again, it falls into that category of games that I hold on to. Because the biggest complaint I have against Pondscape, I guess, is that I can't point to any single element and think, wow, that's really doing something new. It's not. I mean, like, you could argue the way the frog moves, like, there's some aspects, but I guess the things it does that are new don't really compel me, if that makes sense. The basic puzzle is you try to combine a bunch of different scoring opportunities, you try to make your grid work, and you try to do so more efficiently. That basic puzzle works well. The things it does new are like this frog scoring moving system, which isn't drastically amazing. So it does do some things new-ish, but, like, those things don't wow me. The overall package works. I like this game. I like this genre of games, so I'm biased if that's the thing. Like, I'm biased towards the genre, but I'm the target audience for the genre, and this one works. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It is a good game that I've had a lot of fun with so far. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Castle Combo if you're looking for ways to make a whole bunch of cards, score as many points as possible. That one only gives you 9 cards to score, and oh my gosh, it still feels like you get so much done with those 9 cards. And then also check out Ecosystem. It's a series of games. There's Ecosystem, Savannah. There's like 3 that I've played. I don't remember all of them, but there's regular Ecosystem, Savannah, and there's like an underwater one. But it's kind of the same vibe. You're placing a bunch of cards. I think it might be 15 cards as well, if I recall. But same general idea. You have a bunch of cards. You try to put them into a grid. You try to optimize the scoring around them. I thought the drafting system of how you get them there is less clever, but the overall card combinations, very fun. If you like Pondscape, I think you'll like Ecosystem, and vice versa. And then at the beginning of the And then at the beginning of this video, I mentioned Allplay is a channel sponsor. Also check out Chomp from Allplay, another game that gives you very few cards to try to make it all work. That's another one where you're trying to place cards either for the scoring condition or you're trying to place it for the other side as well, trying to figure out how do you maximize the scoring of it all through drafting cards into your dinosaur wasteland. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.